We all know that Fulgrim, Primarch of the Emperor's Children, is a bit dark and indulgent, but the true depths of his depravity rival the Marianas Trench. And we get to see this on full display in the Horus Heresy story The Reflection Cracked by Graham McNeill, where the Emperor's Children torture their Primarch beyond what a normal mortal could take. Like, it would literally kill anyone less than a Primarch, even a Space Marine. And he absolutely loves it, which is one of the best moments in all of Warhammer 40k lore. So this story takes place after Istvan V, after the Meraviglia in La Fenice, aboard the Pride of the Emperor, the 3rd Legion's flagship. And this story is pretty solid, and in my opinion, contributes heavily to Warhammer 40k lore, making the Phoenician just that much more understandable. Captain Lucius, later to be named the Eternal, is having dreams every night, and he hasn't dreamed in years. But they are realistic and vivid, and he can't help but feel like they are prescient in some way. He keeps dreaming he's back on La Fenice, the auditorium where the Emperor's Children first embraced Slaanesh and excess during the massacre known as the Meraviglia, where the Noise Marines were born. And he keeps feeling this call to the center of the stage, where Fulgrim has hung a painting of himself that is so exquisite that it is practically perfect. But if you've read Horus Heresy's 5th book, titled simply Fulgrim, then you know that it was painted with every single bodily fluid imaginable, and then some, and multiple massacres and orgies had to take place in order to paint it. But it is the eyes of the Primarch that keep haunting Lucius. Like, he's literally shaken by how they are crying out in pain and agony, just trying to get some message across that cannot be spoken aloud as it's just a painting. But Lucius knows that somehow this painting is trying to communicate to him. So during the regular events of their lives, as the combat high of Istvan V wore off and the pursuit of excess became all-consuming, the Emperor's Children were meeting with the Primarch, who was announcing their plans and hinting that there was something really fun coming up. And Lord Commander Eidolon was stupid enough to dare questioning Fulgrim during one of his monologues, and the Primarch did not take it well. He flew into an insensate rage, and would have made Khorne proud, honestly, and beheaded Eidolon right then and there. But that's okay. Fabulous Bill was able to Frankenstein his head back on in a later story, so probably a fun experience for a Slaanesh Worshipper to go through, truth be told. I mean, what is more extreme and excessive than being decapitated by a Primarch and having your head stitched back on by a crazy apothecary in a skin dress that would make Buffalo Bill proud? Fulgrim's behavior is getting more and more erratic. He doesn't seem to recall battles that he fought in, talking about them with a detached indifference that would make Lucius and others question who he was. Lucius becomes very suspicious that it is indeed an imposter posing as the Primarch. Lucius notes that he thinks he can take Fulgrim in a fight after seeing the Primarch in battle, and thinks that doesn't add up. Nothing seems to add up. Not how he acts, not what he says, not what he remembers, and certainly not what he does. Fulgrim seems totally unhinged and uncaring and removed from reality. Before long, it is more than just Lucius that notices it. Fabius Bile, Julius Caesaron, and Marius Verocian all seem to take note too. But since none of them trust or even like one another, it is quite a while before they start to put together that others of the 3rd Legion's leadership are noticing it as well. And it kind of comes to a head on the planet Prismatica, where they're fighting a mechanicum force to gain control of the world, which has skyscraper-sized prisms everywhere, and it's like a forest of light reflecting and bouncing everywhere. Totally psychedelic. Reminds me of some 70s sci-fi movies like Zardoz or Logan's Run. Lucius sees Fulgrim in battle and notices that he isn't absolute perfection on the field, and that he's relying on sorcerous powers that he didn't need nor use before, and he didn't relish his victories, even after taking down what was either a large knight or a small titan, pretty much totally single-handedly. So Lucius decides to go against the Primarch's orders, and he realizes that he needs to examine the painting in La Fenice, and he has to fight his way in there, as it is literally guarded by 6 Phoenix Guard Terminators, and Lucius just butchers them, as elite as they are. So they just were no match for his swordsmanship. It made me sad, as the Terminator models for them in the Horus Heresy range are some of the best looking troops models in the range, but hey, lore is lore and models are models. And when he's in La Fenice, the captain, who would soon become the chosen of Slaanesh, the equivalent of his god's own Karn the Betrayer, Typhus, or Ahriman, sees the eyes on the painting and notes that they are crying out in misery, begging him for help, and he recognizes them. He exclaims, "Fulgrim!" And while he's in the chamber, he notices that it is empty of bodies. There are no drag marks, just outlines of stains where the bodies had been, and there had been a huge massacre. Remember the Maraviglia in La Fenice. Lucius fully realizes that some power had taken the bodies, probably in a warp-fueled sorcerous way, and he assumes that it is his Primarch, and Fulgrim has found a way to sustain himself in the painting, so he may have been growing in power, trying to get his way out of there, freeing himself. So Lucius makes it his personal mission to free his Primarch from the painting and force whatever demon is possessing his body out, freeing it for the true Primarch's soul to inhabit it again. And Lucius does pretty much the unthinkable. He convenes the Brotherhood of the Phoenix, a secret society, one of the warrior lodges like the Mournival of the Sons of Horus, consisting of the highest-ranking members of the Emperor's children. The Primarch is the topic of the day, and keep in mind, nobody wants to earn the ire of Fulgrim. Every one of them is scared of him after what he did to Eidolon. He's totally crazy. But also keep in mind, they all hate Lucius and are extremely loyal to Fulgrim, despite his downward spiral. So ironically, it all goes pretty well. I mean, they straight up all see how he's different. It was subtle at first, but it has been getting worse. So First Captain Julius Caesarion, who absolutely loathes Lucius, steps up and agrees with him completely. He buys the painting theory that the Primarch is switched with a demon. And Fabius Bile, the chief apothecary, steps up and states that Fulgrim's latest blood tests are showing that he's on the verge of some serious transformation of some sort, that he's basically in a pupal state and is metamorphosizing. Now, we know the fun winged snake with 4 arms that he becomes, Laren in form, but at this point, the Emperor's children had no clue what Fulgrim was going to become, and no clue what they bit off when they agreed to sell their souls to She Who Thirsts, the Prince of Pleasure. In my opinion, the Emperor's children may have been the least well-fit Legion to go traitor, in a lot of ways. So with all the clues put together, they go after Fulgrim and jump him, and they fight him while he's naked and unarmored, and he still pretty much mops them up, doing some serious damage just completely barehanded. One of them slits his throat at one point, but he shrugs it off in seconds, and his Primarch physiology just heals it almost instantly. He stomps that dude's head and pops it like a melon, if I recall correctly. Okay, so eventually they're able to take him down. Well, at least to knock him out. Funny enough, Lucius considers that even if they had to, they may not even be able to kill him, as they're mortals and he's basically a demigod. So the crew straps him down and decides to interrogate him. As he comes to, he's all friendly and just talks their ears off. Fulgrim just won't shut up. He invites them to torture him harder as he endures the most severe of interrogation techniques. Eventually, no progress is made, so Lucius and the apothecary Bile and the first Captain Caesarion decide to crank up the torture. Bile says that a demon cannot be tortured out of a human because they die physically before the demon even felt it. But a Primarch is another story altogether. And Bile is convinced they can use excruciation to torture the body of Fulgrim so hard that the demon comes out of it. But they did realize the conundrum that they didn't know how to get the real Fulgrim out of the painting. They might be killing the Primarch, but it would be better than letting a demon puppet his body around and command the Third Legion. And Fulgrim tells them of many things, but the part I thought was the best was how he explained good and evil to them. He's under more and more intense excruciation, many needles pumping horrific things into him, hitting his nerves, and at one point Marius Ferocian didn't put the needle in the most optimal place to induce pain, and Fulgrim corrected him on it, just totally getting off on it. He loved every second of it, and opined the whole time, waxing loquacious and philosophizing on a Primarch level. But he tells them that what they're doing is evil, that he's the only one in the chamber who can be considered good, as he is evolving, becoming more complex, just as life itself gets more complex and adapts as time goes on. so too is he becoming the next step in his own godhood's evolution. The Primarch lets them all know that he isn't the demon, that he switched places with the demon a while back. Though it did have him trapped in the painting for a while, he did eventually find a way to best it, overcome it, and to take his power back, and his body along with it. He said that the demon wanted free, so was posing as him in captivity to get Lucius to let it out, and that everything went well, considering. The Emperor's children learned of their mistake a moment later, as Fulgrim's biceps just totally swole and destroyed the bonds restraining him. He ripped right out of them like Douglas Quaid in Total Recall. No, not that Colin Farrell crap, even if it was closer to the novel. I mean the real movie, the Paul Verhoeven film starring Arnold Schwarzenegger, of course. Fulgrim just totally took all that torture for fun. He didn't even have to endure a second of it, and had the power to get away at any moment. That's when he tells the Emperor's children that they are Slaanesh's bitches now, so they'd better get used to extreme sensation, as they are to experience everything. Even things that they may find distasteful or stuff they aren't into. They better get to it because their entire legion needs to indulge deeply. No sensation is to be avoided. Even being beheaded and having it sewed back on and rot slowly over millennia, apparently. Eidolon. But Fulgrim hasn't yet become what he will one day be, though the story does end with a speech he gives, and he's all about going to find the Angel Exterminatus, which is why he was collecting all the prisms from Prismatica, as he wants to build a city of mirrors, and somehow that will help him transcend or get a hold of the Angel Exterminatus. And this is where he tries to sacrifice Perturabo to achieve apotheosis. He still transcends, but the Lord of Iron endured. But that is a topic for another video. What do you guys think? Honestly, with all the weird pervert comments I've been getting lately, I'm actually scared to know.